So, welcome everybody. This is the Microsoft 365 and Power Platform weekly community call with Microsoft presenters happening every single Tuesday at 8 a.m. Pacific time. Today is February 11th. My name is Sasa Ivonen. I'm a principal product manager for Microsoft, working in the open source and community areas across the different topics, and here quite often hosting the call. Now, today we have a great agenda with two different demos. We're obviously going to start with the latest updates and news, what's going to happen, what has happened within the past week. There's quite a few news again from Microsoft on the latest things. Then we're going to go the crew photo together, and then we're going to go to the real stars of today, who are today Samir Chabungbam, who's going to talk about Governance 101 with Microsoft Copilot Agents. And then the second demo is coming from Paolo Pialorsi, creating a first Microsoft 365 Copilot Agent with Copilot Studio. Now, for some of that might be like, yeah, I'm using Copilot Studio all the time, but for a lot of people, you might not have the access on Copilot Studio, and you need to understand, okay, where do I get started? And that's super important to recap as well. Now, if you haven't been in these calls before, we are always repeating some of the slides, and that's highly intentional. And we want to make sure that people are up to date on all of the different assets which are available for Microsoft 365 and Power Platform, so you don't have to worry about, okay, how do I get started? Because there's always new people within these calls, which is great to see as well. Now, quick kind of a recap on especially those assets. So we do have our Microsoft Community Learning video channel where all of the community calls and demos and many other videos are getting published. I think last week we actually published 22 videos on that channel. And yes, that's not optimized for YouTube algorithms. But guess what? That is not our intention. Our intention is to actually provide you a content which is usable for you, and you can find then the relevant guidance within this channel. All of the recordings, all of the videos, demos, all of that is getting published within that YouTube channel, and it has more than 60,000 subscribers, so just past 60,000 this week, which is pretty cool. We do have our LinkedIn page and group for discussions and updates, one way of following up on what's happening and getting updates on all the latest news and videos which are getting published. We have a lot of open source assets, but as it might be a bit difficult to find the relevant sample or open source asset for you, we actually have our sample galleries, which is a great way of accessing the relevant sample and information for you. And then if you're wondering that so many URLs, I can't remember all of this, luckily it's actually only one. AKMS Community Home is the URL where you can find all of the different assets, including all of the social media channels, all of that, how to stay up to date on what to follow and how to stay up to date on tracking what are we doing. Now, related on the community calls, we do have quite a few of them. And this is the every single happening recap. This is the Tuesday 8 a.m. call with Microsoft presenters happening every single Tuesday at 8 a.m. Pacific time, and that's the first call on that list. This call happens every single Tuesday, mentioned already quite a few times, except in the holiday period. So in the northern when it's Christmas in Northern Hemisphere or when it's summertime in Northern Hemisphere, this call is on break. On top of that, we have Power Platform monthly community call coming actually next week for February, and then Office Admins monthly community call, and then our 7 a.m. Pacific series, which is either Microsoft 365 and Power Platform community call or Viva Connection and SharePoint Framework community call. So technically either week, every single week, it's either one of those calls, and those are with community presenters, which is a super important part of the story as well. So it's not just Microsoft telling the story on how we're planning to use the products. We're actually getting other people in the community, MVPs and non-MVP community members, to show how they're actually using the products, what they built, how to get started within their own words. So not just Microsoft telling how we're intending to use things, because quite often there might be small differences within those things. Now, related on that one, you are 100% welcome to present in these calls as well. So if you are willing and interested, you just sign up on this form, AKMS Community Request for Demo, which is the form you fill it in. We'll come back to you. We'll get you scheduled in the schedule. And this is a great way, by the way, if you're an MVP, get yourself renewed, or if you're looking into getting an MVP status, this is a great way of getting those, in quotes, points to get the MVP status as well. Now, on top of that, there's a lot of content available to get started on the Microsoft Cloud, including Power Platform, Microsoft 365, Microsoft 365 development, and all of that stuff. So if you go to the learn.microsoft.com, you find a lot of modules which are free for you to take advantage to learn how to get started. So please take advantage of this one. There's no additional cost. You probably want to sign in. So it's actually tracking all of the modules which you have already gone through. So it's saving that status for you. But there's no payments, no nothing within these modules. We already also mentioned our sample gallery. So we do have more than 2,200 samples from Microsoft and community from one centralized location. Really cool location at AKMS community samples. You can filter down based on the product filter. You can actually find the samples contributed by individuals. So there is actually a page for every single person who's contributed a sample. And if you're contributing multiple samples, there's actually kind of a page which is aggregating those to your profile, like we can see in the screen for Rabia Williams. And then for individual samples, there's more details on that. Now, as you find the sample, it will be redirecting you to the GitHub. You're able to access the sample. And then you might be wondering on, okay, how do I now get started with the sample? Or maybe I would love to contribute with my samples on the community. How would I actually do that? And that's why we have Sharing is Caring initiative. Directly from LA Studios is David Warner explaining what is Sharing is Caring initiative all about.
Yes, holy cow, Vesa. Yes, holy cow. Thank you. Live from LA, what are we talking about with Sharing is Caring? Well, these are hands-on sessions, which means that we join live Teams calls together to work together. I know it's crazy, to learn together. It's a trifecta of learning. And you are not having to worry about them being recorded because they are safe space, unrecorded. Ask any and all questions. It covers a variety of topics. Usually they start out with how to contribute to such said samples that Vesa was talking about, or if you want to use them. But we're expanding. So I'm excited to welcome Stephanie and Todd. They are going to begin helping out. I know that it's been a little bit of a challenge to get all these scheduled because there's only been a couple of us and, crazy things have been going on. So we are excited that we are going to be getting them scheduled. We just met last week, so it's very, very exciting. Thank you, Todd and Stephanie, for leaning in and helping out. So be on the lookout for that, and we'll be meeting up again for those schedules. So, and a lot of other topics as well. April's going to start leaning in as well and helping out there too, April Dunham. So super, super excited. Take a look at aka.ms/sharingiscaring to keep track, and we'll scream it from the socials as soon as we get those schedules. So thank you for your patience. Now, once you do contribute, though, we want to recognize you for the amazing work that you're doing. And that is where our recognition program comes in, alive and well. And it is sprung into spring as we are building new badges. We are excited. We've got the typicals, the Prompt Pro, Snippet Sorcerer, all those others that you've seen. We've got some event specific like the SharePoint Hackathon and the Powerful Devs, which is kicking off tomorrow. We've got a new one, Repo Rescuer, for the SPFX reusable controls and properties. We've got some new ones coming out that's going to be exciting and thematic. So 100% free. These are real and accredited. They are a lot of fun to chase them, but they also are very important because they show that you're making a difference in the community. So show them to your manager, show them to your clients, let them know that you are involved and you are being recognized. So don't be shy. You can put them on your blog. You can put them on LinkedIn. You can associate them to your websites, anything and everything. Send them to mom. She'll be proud. I know we are. So we love you. We thank you. Do need you to opt in, ak.ms/community/recognition. Just got to do that once, and we'll track all the work that you're doing. Vesa, back to you in the Finland studios.
Excellent. Thank you, LA and Helsinki taking over. Now, we talked about the Powerful Devs. As mentioned, this is starting actually tomorrow, February 12th. Still time to register and get all of the details at AKMS Powerful Devs. It is both a conference and a hack together with some live events and office hours and all of that starting tomorrow for upcoming 2 weeks. Really, really cool capability, really, really cool option to engage together with community. We know that there's thousands and thousands of people already registered, which is awesome. And you get a badge if you contribute on that your hack with others. Now, following up on that hackathon, we actually have a SharePoint hackathon coming up on March 3rd to 17th, and you can find more details at AKMS SharePoint Hackathon. This one is not just about writing code, not just about writing solutions. If you have a beautiful designs for SharePoint portals, you can actually submit that as a video as well. And there's 4 different categories within the SharePoint Hackathon. The most beautiful beautiful portals, most useful SharePoint agent scenario, Viva Connection dashboard, and then SharePoint framework and SPFX, so as an extensibility within top of the SharePoint or Viva Connection. So please check more details at AKMS SharePoint Hackathon, all of the guidance, all of that, how to get involved in there. And there's going to be 6 different live streams as part of the SharePoint Hackathon as well. We're going to show latest and greatest on all of the different things. Really, really cool stuff. Now, following up on those things, May 6th to May 8th, we have Microsoft 365 Community Conference happening in Las Vegas at MGM. Great opportunity to engage with the community. A lot of people have already signed up, and there's awesome set of workshops by our MVPs, and a lot of Microsoft sessions are going to be released pretty soon within the agenda. So please check that one out as well. Now, following up on that one, we have a triple conference season happening at Düsseldorf. That's 26th to 28th of May, and that is European Collaboration Summit, European AI Cloud Summit, and European BizHub Summit, all 3 happening at the same time, altogether up to 3,000 attendees, 75 sponsors, and 250 speakers. So that's going to be huge at Düsseldorf on 26th of May. Now, in other side of the pond, Seattle, Atlanta, and Dallas, there's going to be TechCon conferences again. TechCon conferences are super popular community conferences, starting from Seattle at June 23rd, then Atlanta and Dallas a bit later on this year. And then on October, no, September was last year, October, Power Platform Community Conference happening at MGM Las Vegas. Great opportunity also to engage with the community. And then we close up the year at ESBC at Dublin. Great opportunity of catching up the latest within the Microsoft 365 Power Platform and related technologies together with other people in the community. Last year we were in Stockholm with this conference in December. Next year, or this year, now it's 2025. Yes, it is. Will be at Dublin. Now, on top of this, there's a lot of different conferences and events happening all around the world. What you want to do is actually get to the communitydays.org location, and from there you can actually find all of the different individual locations. Some of these might have a cost, some of them might be free, some of them might be even hybrid, so you're able to join them from your home if you don't want to meet up in person in the different locations. But quickly looking in here, United States, Germany, Dubai, New Zealand, so a lot of different events and conferences happening all around the world, which is really cool. Now, this week, we did have quite a lot of news happening all around the world from Microsoft, primarily a bit more maybe on the Microsoft 365 side, but maybe there's more applications and individual services on that side, but a lot of news. And thank you, David, for copying those into chat as well. So if you're interested in catching up on what's happening with all of these blogs, there's now a list in the chat, or if you're watching the recording, you will actually find the list of news also in the recording description, so you can easily access all of the latest news from Microsoft. Now, before we go to the Together Mode picture, today also wanted to promote our Copilot prompts. I think every one of us are starting to use more and more agents and Copilot and different Copilot capabilities in the different products. Copilot prompts is a location where you can contribute your prompts, what kind of prompts you're using, and also checking what kind of other prompts and what other community members are using as their prompts. And as one of these contributions, we always call out the prompt of the week. And this time, this is more a system prompt coming from Cyprian and Mallory, but this is basically creating a creator agent. So you're kind of creating an agent using an agent, but that's actually what you can do. So you can absolutely use also Copilot to help you to define how do you create another agent or another agent, so you can adjust the behavior of the Copilot to be always more useful for you. So in this case, your role is to help the user to create a Copilot agent. So you're creating an agent to create an agent. That's really meta, isn't it? Anyway, so that's the prompt of the week, and thank you for that one. At AKMS PMP Prompt Library, you can find more examples on that. But I think that's a good segue to the Together Mode picture. If you're willing, enable the camera. We will do a group photo together. I will move in the group photo setup in a second to that screen. Let me put it in here. If you enable the camera, you'll get to the picture. I will enable the camera as well. We do have 50 seats in the room. Let's see how fast we actually get the seats filled in today. A lot of familiar faces, really cool. And we have pixel perfect. This is getting better. I think last year we had a lot of problems because the pixelation was pretty bad every now and then. Maybe my network connectivity has gone better. Let's wait a few more seconds before we start recording. I think we'll have a room for one more row, maybe even. A few more seconds, 5, 6, 4. Maybe I will actually start recording. Maybe I was starting to be. I think it's good. Let me put the recording on and let's do some hand waving. Thank you everybody for joining. Good to have you on a call. Let's do some hand waving, everybody. Casper, do the stuff. Excellent. I will call you. There we go. Excellent. Thank you everybody for joining on the community. Awesome to see you in here. We'll grab a GIF animation out of that and share that in the social media. Good to see you, everybody in here. Cool. And then we go to the actual stars of today. So we're going to start with Samir, who's going to talk about the governance 101 for Microsoft Copilot agents. And then we're going to move into Paolo Pialorsi to talking about creating your first Microsoft 365 Copilot agent with Copilot Studio. But Samir, I saw you on a call, and I think you should be good to go. So you can start sharing, and we'll move forward from there.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. And I'm really great and excited to be here. I hope you guys can hear me well.
Yes, audio is really good. And
Awesome.
Screen sharing.
So let me share my screen and then we can get started, right?
Yep.
So let me know if you see my screen.
And we can see the screen. Take it away.
All right. So today we are going to talk about Governance 101 for the Copilot agents. As many of you might know, and I can see some of the questions coming up as well. You can create Copilot agents using Copilot Studio. Here we are going to focus on the governance side of things, and we will try to touch upon at a very high level the key aspects of what governance is about. But the next demo I see is about how you create those agents as maker in Copilot Studio. Right, so I think this is a great topic to have 2 demos on related topics. So let's get started. So Copilot Studio, why is my slide not transitioning? Okay, so Copilot Studio is where you create those Copilot agents. It started as what used to be called as Power Virtual Agents, but it's a much more evolved version of Power Virtual Agents. So you can use it to create AI assistants or AI chatbots or AI agents. And because it is part of the Power Platform, most of the governance for Copilot agents is done using Power Platform Admin Center. And what we'll do is we'll walk through the Power Platform Admin Center today, and we'll try to cover some demos along the way. For instance, as part of governance, some of the key questions or some of the key things that you want to do is to lay policies in place so that you can effectively allow and empower your makers to create these agents within your enterprise. At the same time, you want to make sure that you can protect your enterprise assets, and that is the key aspects of governance. So we'll see about who can create agents in Copilot Studio. Where do they create? How do they create those things? What kind of data sources can they use while creating those agents? How do you monitor? And obviously, how do you get help? There are a couple of advanced topics as well that we'll cover that we can just quickly touch upon, but we'll probably not go deep into those scenarios today. All right, so let's go ahead and look into our demo, right? So this is Copilot Studio. This is where you can create agents. For instance, if I go to agents here, you'll see that I have created one agent that I've called myself first agent, and there is a Copilot as well called Copilot for Microsoft 365. So this is the Copilot that we provide, and as part of Copilot for Microsoft 365, you can also go ahead and create agents for it, and those will show up in the context of Copilot for Microsoft 365. Otherwise, you can also create your own custom agents that you can host at various channels, right? So we'll look into that. So as a governance, as a first thing that you realize is all these agents are created in the context of a Power Platform environment. So if you look into this one, there is an environment, and this is right now I have the Contoso default as the environment, but there are also other environments where you can go and create ones, right? So Power Platform, the concept of an environment is key to Power Platform. It is a container where makers can create different things, right? So the first question is as a governance, as an admin, is who can create and where do you create, right? As I said, this is where you go to Power Platform Admin Center. So Power Platform Admin Center is admin.powerplatform.microsoft.com. And if you go to the home page, you can see a bunch of things. Basically, you can customize this homepage, once you are used to it, and so on. But there are many things that you can explore, basically. So if you look on the left side, there are different topics: environments, environment group, advisors, security, analytics, billing, settings, Copilot, and so on and so forth, right? So what we'll do is we'll go through the key important topics in the Power Platform Admin Center today for our demo. So the first thing is the environment. So the environment is where you do your stuff, you build your stuff, and by default, when you signed up, there is a default environment. But you can also go ahead and create different environments. And when you try to create environments, you can create it for different themes. For instance, you can give it a name. So let's call it Contosos, let's say sales, right? So I want to create an environment for the sales team and so on, right? You can select a region, you can select the type of environment, sandbox, developer, production, and so on. So let's just select developer for now, just so that it's a lot faster, but you can select the different types of environment. Then you can click next, and that's how you can create. Now, for instance, anybody can create those environments, right? So now you can have a lot of environments, and it's not unusual in an enterprise to have a lot of environments. Now, as an admin, how do you manage those environments, right? So the way you can do those, once you create those environments, for instance, you can go ahead and click on those environments, and there are many things that you can customize in that environment. So the key important things would be the security roles, who can do what in that environment, right? What are the security roles? So if you look at the security roles, you'll find there are a lot of out of the box roles that you have. I don't know why it's not coming up. Let's go back. Okay, maybe this is why it is just created. Let's go back to a role that I've created. And you can see there are a lot of security roles. So because it's newly created, it's taking time to populate. But there are a lot of out-of-the-box roles. So these roles have member users in this role can do different things in an environment. But the more important ones, the ones which you will be interested on, or the more important ones would be the system administrator. Of course, if you have the system admin, you can do pretty much anything in that environment. The system customizer and the environment maker. Yes, the maker role. So the environment maker role allows you to create things in that environment, right? And the system customizer allows you to customize the database or the dataverse, in that environment. So these are the roles required in case you want to enable someone to build something on top of those environments, right? And the others would be the others are more specialized roles, so we don't have to go through those ones. Sorry. All right.
Samir, sorry to jump in. Mm-hmm. Can you zoom in a bit, one step forward, just to?
All right. Is it better?
Yep, it's definitely a bit better. Yep, that's all good.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I was adjusting the zoom, and then I realized that I just moved to a bigger screen. So yeah. All right. So in an enterprise, it's not uncommon to have like a lot of environments that gets created. And as an admin, managing those environments become very challenging, right? When you have like so many environments. So we have introduced what we call as environment groups, basically. So what you can do is, instead of managing each of those environment one by one, you can assign environments to a group, and then you manage that entire set of environments in a particular group as one, and you can assign policies. For instance, you can say what kind of connectors you can use in those environments and so on, right? And creating a group is fairly easy. You go ahead, create a group. So let's call it our environment group one, right? And you add a description. This is group one, right? You can save it. Once it is created, you can start adding environments to it. So whatever environments that I have, you can start adding to it, right? So you can add both those two environments and so on. And the only thing is, it will ask you to convert it to a managed environment. So, in order for an environment to be managed in a group, we have a type called manage, whether it is managed or not managed. So you will convert it into a managed environment, right? So this is the prompt that you get. And once you do this, it will convert that environment. It just takes a few seconds, basically. And then it will be added into that group, right? So there's been converted, you can add it to a group, and now you have an environment group which contains those two environments. If you refresh it, you'll see that, right? So that's how you do it. Now, why do we want to add it to a group? As we said, is because you want to group different environments, you want to manage it as a group. Now, the other important thing, which helps in the governance aspects of these environments, is what we call as environment routing, right? So if you click on environment routing, what it allows you to do is any maker that comes to Power Platform for creating apps, flows, agents, including Copilot Studio, basically, you can assign them a personal developer environment for maker, right? And what it will do is, when I sign in, I will have my own personal environment, so I'm not I'm not sharing any of those things. So you can prevent what can be done and what cannot be done, and you are giving them a safe space for every maker enterprise. So that is also something that you can do. You can set this up, and when a new environment is created, you can assign it to an environment group here, for instance, right? Or so those are some of the things that you can do here, that you can also use for more advanced management of environments in your enterprise, right? Okay, so that defines an environment where a maker can go and create, and you can assign roles to it, so it tells you who can do what. The other thing that you also want to look at as an admin would be the data policies, right? So you define who can do and where they can build. Now the next question would be what kind of things they can build, right? So that is where the data policy comes in. The data policies define what kind of connectors can be used when they are building things on Power Platform, right? Power Platform provides, I think, about 1,400 and more, almost 1,500 out-of-the-box connectors connecting to different data sources. And you may want, what you can do is you can classify each of those data sources and put them in one of three buckets, right? And you will see it right now. The first bucket is whether it's a business, is a data source is used for business purpose. The second one is whether you want to allow it, but it's not for business. And the third one is data sources that you don't want anybody to use, so you can block them, right? So that's how you can classify those policies. So we'll start by creating a small policy here. So let's call it, say, Contoso default, right? Data policy. Okay. And here, as I said, you can, okay, we have our 1300 connectors. You can see there are a lot of business, non-business, and blog. So by default, we put everything here, right? But you can also choose and say which one you want to put it in the default. And any new connectors that show up will automatically go in this default, right? So there are three categories: business, non-business, and blog. So let's say you want to allow SharePoint, OneDrive, Dynamics, and you can say, hey, I want to move this to business, right? So now you have this three connectors in business and the rest in non-business. And you can say, hey, I don't want anyone to be using this, this four connectors, so you can block them, right? So that's how you can classify each of those connectors. Now the thing is, when you have three connectors in business, let's say as a maker you're building an agent, and in that agent you're using SharePoint, then you will not be able to use any of the connectors like Salesforce, OneDrive, which is in a non-business class, with your SharePoint connector. So in an agent, in an app, in a flow, what we will enforce is you cannot mix connectors or data sources that is handling your business data with connectors or data sources that is handling non-business data. So that is one way of preventing or securing your business data and keeping it separate from your non-business data, right? So that is how you can create. So once you classify those connectors, you can do the same thing for custom connector. So Power Platform also allows you to create custom connector here. What you can do is you can add a pattern. So you can say, hey, anything that has a pattern, let's say API dot, come on, start dot api.contoso.com is handling business data, right? So you can save it, right? And anything which is not there will be ignored. So that is how you can create. You can also have a pattern for custom connector, and depending on the API that the custom connector is pointing to, it will be classified as such. And then finally, you can say this policy that you are creating, where does it apply? As a global admin, as a Power Platform admin, you can create one that applies to all the environment, and that will be enforced basically. But if you are an environment admin, you can also create a policy that is applicable only for that specific environment, right? So you have the option to apply that policy for all environments, or you can select particular environment, right? So you can add multiple environments, or you can say, hey, it applies to all except for certain environments. So that's an exclusion policy that you can create as well. For now, let's just create for all environments. And so it gives you a high level overview of how it is done. And then you can start creating those policies, right? Once it starts creating the policy, those will be applied. All right. So that is the policy part of it. There are a few other things that I wanted to quickly cover as well, right? So the first one is that, tenant isolation, which is slightly more advanced. But sometimes as an admin, you may have to manage how data in your tenant, whether you need to allow it to to access resources in other tenants or not, right? So for instance, I've created a tenant ID, and you can say, hey, you want to allow inbound and outbound data and so on. But you have to enable this, then only it applies. Okay, so this is sometimes useful when you are managing like two different domains. You're in the same enterprise, but maybe you acquired some company and you have like two different tenants, and you want to make sure that they can work with each other. Otherwise, you don't have to switch on this feature as well. The other thing in the policy is a customer logbox. This is useful when you want to configure, when you want to allow Microsoft support to kind of access your data, right? And then the other one that you can see is we also have something called customer managed keys. So we can also protect all your data in Power Platform using a customer key that you can provide. So we'll encrypt all the data at rest, and that will make the data more secure for you, right? So these are some of the policies that you can apply. Now let's look at a few other things, right? So the one thing that as an admin that I would want you guys to check out is the advisor. So the advisor provides bunch of tips. Basically, it will look into your environment, your tenant, and provide you very helpful tips that you can follow. So, for instance, one of the recommendation was that you can secure agents by setting up data loss prevention policy for Copilot Studio items. So it came from the advisor because I have not set up any data loss policies here, right? So that is one that you can do, and there will be more things that will come up in future as well. All right, so we look at who can create, where can they create, and what they can do, right? So that once you set this up, now your makers can start creating agents, basically using Copilot Studio. They can start leveraging creating cool agents and so on. One of the other things that you may want to do as an admin once that happens is during the approval of some of those agents. So typically what you will want to do is you will want to make sure that the makers, your users, are empowered to try things on their own. But sometimes you also want to make sure that you have control in terms of what can be broadly shared, right? So for instance, you might want to say, I don't want anybody to be sharing to more than 50 people in my org, right? Because then I want to come and make sure that anything which is widely shared is properly reviewed, and it has a blessing and so on. So those are some of the things that you can do as an admin, right? So the way to do that would be, for instance, if you go to settings on the Power Platform Admin Center, there are so many settings that we provide. We'll not go through each of those things, right? But the important one that I want to show you was the sharing control. Where is that? All right. Concept, environment assignment, data share, right? Not this. Okay, not this. This is not this one. All right. So would be the sharing control that you can provide. I thought it should be here, but it's probably not here. Yeah, here you go. Access control and manage sharing, right? So so you can, for this environment, let's say in the default environment, you can say, hey, I want to have this managed sharing. Again, this will turn. So let's pick one environment here. And here I can say for this environment, right? Why is it not coming up? All right, that's there. Okay, so if once you create the group, this is because I've created the group, but these are the settings that you can do, right? You don't have to set limits, which is the default, but you can also set limit for that. So for instance, if I go here and look into the groups, there you go, environment groups, rules, right? And then you can see the sharing control for Canvas apps, sharing control for Cloud Flows, sharing agents. So the agents, you can share it as an editor as well. So you don't want people to share between environments. You can always use that and remove this, right? And you can also limit, as I said, the number of people that you can share with. So for instance, you can say, hey, I only share it with individuals, no security group, and you can limit it to say, 50, right? So once you do this, your agents cannot be shared to more than 30 people, right? So those are some of the things that you can do once you have those things. I don't know, 30, right? Okay, sounds good, right? And then similarly, you can do it for apps, you can do it for flows, and so on, right? So now if a maker comes and say, hey, but I'm building this, I needed more than 30 people. How do you do that, right? So typically in that case, what happens is, let's say I've built this agent here, right? And once you publish that agent, you're restricting the number of people that you can share it with here, right? So if you look at this agent here, this is not published. I thought I published it. Oh, the other one is the one that you can publish. But okay, so we can publish it here, right? And once this might take time. Okay, so let's just go back to that agent, the other agent that I have already published. So this will be for Copilot Studio. I have an agent here that I've created as a maker, and once it comes up, you'll find that I have already published this, right? And you can see that once I publish, I can share this as a link with other users, or I can submit it to an admin for approval. So this is how, as an you can, as a maker, you can submit it to admin for approval. And once you submit it, basically, it will go and show up in the admin center, right? So let's just move this a little bit. And if you look at here, the Teams app admin center here, let's see. Okay. So you'll see this manage app, you have one pending approval, for instance, and if you sort it by the publishing status as submitted, you will see that, the one that I have isn't. And then as an admin, you can approve it basically, or you can publish it, or you can reject it. Okay, so that's what you can do as an admin. And finally, once everything is running as an admin, what you will typically want to do is you want to come back and see how things are going, right? So there's a much more advanced feature, but we have analytics available that you can see for Dataverse, Power Automate, and Power Apps, and so on. But for Copilot as an agent, we also have auditing enabled, right? So if you go to Microsoft Purview, you will be able to find logs in terms of what is being done from Copilot Studio. So all the admin activity as well as the agent activities, you can do that and you can enable that. All right, so that gives you an overview of the proactive controls that you can do in terms of who can do what, and and then the approval that comes in between, and then the monitoring and the aspects of audits also there. So that brings us to most of the important topics for our session. The question would be, how do I get help? So I talked about advisors. There's a bunch of documentation, very nice documentations available as well. And you can always create support ticket from the admin center itself in case you run into problems, right? So that's it, basically. If you have any questions, feel free to drop on the chat. I'll be more than happy to answer some of those questions. Thank you so much.
Excellent. Thank you, Samir, on that one. Awesome. Really good coverage on different things. Great job on that one. Awesome.
Yeah.
Now, let's then move quickly to Paolo. So we still have time for Paolo to do the baseline setup for Copilot Studio. We can see the screen. How's the audio?
The audio should be good.
Audio is good. Take it away, Paolo.
Okay. Thank you, Vesa. So let's talk about how we can create Copilot agents with Copilot Studio now. So we have just seen the governance part of the story. Now let's see the maker part of the story. Here you can find my Twitter and Blue Sky account in case you want to follow me. And just let's go on the actual content of this demo. So again, we want to see how to create agents with Copilot Studio. And well, the agents are intelligent assistants that help us provide a fully focused context to our end users to interact through Microsoft 365 Copilot, and generally speaking through a bot-based interface to get content, information, and answer based on a specific scenario. And we can also use agents to automate business processes and execute business processes. All of that also based on a set of tools and workflows that we already have in our own environment and that we are used to use. So when we create agents, we can use different tools and options. we can create agents from the end user experience using the Copilot Studio Agent Builder and the agent for SharePoint. We can be makers and create agents with Copilot Studio, which is our focus today in this demo. Or we can wear the hat of a developer, a pro code developer, and use the Teams toolkit and build declarative agents and custom engine agents. Right now, today, I want to focus on how to use Copilot Studio to create such an agent. So let me switch to the demo environment and let me show you what the scenario I'm going to share with you is. So let's say that we want to create an agent for an hypothetical HR department. And here I have a site collection in SharePoint Online where I stored some documents generated through Copilot, actually. And I also want to rely on a website which will provide content and information about HR-related topics, which, for the sake of simplicity, will be the entry point of the HR website of Microsoft. So now what we want to create and see how to create is a bot that we can use as an agent in Microsoft Teams or also in Microsoft 365 Copilot to manage the content that we have in SharePoint Online and the content that we have in the website, the public website that we want to target. So here, just to give you an idea of the final goal, I can interact with my agent, I can ask questions to my agent, providing prompts, and I can get back answers based on the content that I have in my SharePoint Online repository, in my document library, as well as I can do the same interacting, as you will see soon, using Copilot, Microsoft 365 Copilot, instead of a bot-based interface. And when I get answers back from the agent, I can also get a reference to the documents that I have in my SharePoint Online. And I can do the same with an agent for Microsoft 365 Copilot using the Copilot interface. I created an agentic HR through which I can still provide the same kind of prompts and get back again the same kind of answers, but within the user experience of Microsoft 365 Copilot. And again, here you can see I get reference to the documents that I am using to give an answer to the user. But I can also do more. Like, for example, here I can trigger actions like, let's say that I have in my SharePoint Online site an hypothetical list of candidates, which is an Excel spreadsheet with a list of candidates for a specific role. Well, I can ask to my Copilot agent to give me the list of candidates so that I can build an advanced solution where I can manage the members of this list. And of course, by being able to consume this list, I will be able to get back all of those items. Since I'm going to use the APIs to consume the Excel file, the very first time I'm going to do that, I need to allow Copilot to do that. And actually, for the sake of running this demo multiple times, I will only allow it once, but you could eventually allow it always. I'm allowing this interaction with the external system and with the Excel business connector. And by doing that, I will be able to get back from my external file stored in SharePoint Online the list of candidates that I can eventually work with these items. And here we are with the list of candidates that I have in my Excel file. So how can we do that in practice? Let's go to Copilot Studio, and here we can create a new agent. Well, when you create a new agent, we simply need to click or select the Create button, and by doing that, we start interacting with the UI of Copilot Studio. I'm going to create a new agent from scratch, but you could also start from one of the templates made available by Microsoft. Now, let's start from scratch, as I said, and you have two options here. One is to use a conversational model, so I'm just using the AI-based interface to describe what I'm looking for, and that's what I'm going to do. Or you can also say script to configure, and you can manually configure the agent you want to create. But I want to keep it simple, and as such, I'm going to use the conversational model. So here I provided the initial statement to tell what is the role of my agent. Then I need to provide a name, which could be HR Agent 007, because why not? And then I will provide additional information, like, for example, if there is anything that I want to be emphasized. And actually, I want to emphasize team building, inclusion, and stuff like that. Then I also need to specify if I want to have a special tone or way of interacting for my agent. And the tone I want to use will be professional. So let's say that, and let's tell that to the Copilot Studio Builder. Then once I've done that, we can eventually add additional reference to external data sources. And as I said, I want to use the HR website of Microsoft as one data source, as knowledge base of my agent. So let's do that. And let's say that I want to use this website. By doing that, the Copilot Studio will rely on the information that I provided and will allow me to build the agent. Now, since I provided a URL of a website, I need to declare that that website is actually owned by my business, because Bing Search will work on the content of that website, and you should use a website that is owned by your company. So let me confirm that. And now I can click on the Create button and create the actual agent based on the description that I provided. It takes a while, usually a few seconds, and then you can start playing with it. Let's see. Okay, and here it is. Of course, you can play with it, also customizing the icon, the base color, the name, and stuff like that. And it is still loading the settings that were provided by myself in the previous conversation-based interaction. And here you can already see that in the knowledge base section, we have the URL of the website that I provided as the knowledge base for this agent, together with additional settings that we can use. Okay. So now, as soon as it will be ready, we can start playing with it. So, for example, we can test this agent, and we can provide a prompt like, what is our mission? Because we saw that in the website, we have our mission as one of the content sections. And it will work on the website that I provided, and it will give me back the answer based on the actual reference. But as I said, I want to use the SharePoint site as a knowledge base. So I can click on Add Knowledge, and I can choose, for example, to use SharePoint Online as a data source, as a knowledge base. I can browse for my site, and I can choose that I want to use this site, actually this library in the Copilot Camp HR site that I showed you before. Let me select this item. It is really important to provide a useful name and description of the content that you are going to provide as the knowledge base, so that internally, by enabling the generative AI-based orchestration in your agent, which means that Copilot Studio will rely on generative AI to understand what the user is looking for from a data source and knowledge base point of view. If you provide a proper description here, you will help Copilot Studio find a better answer for your end user. Now, for the sake of saving time, I'm not going to expand the description provided out of the box, but in a real solution, you should keep into account that you need to provide a proper description for your data sources. So now that I've done that, I can, for example, provide another prompt like, I don't know, again, what are the hiring procedures of our company? What's going to happen is that Copilot Studio now, with my custom agent, is going to rely also on the new knowledge base that I provided. And as you can see here, I've got the answer, and I got, again, a reference about external content that I have in my knowledge base. That's really cool, and it gives me the idea of trying something else. Like, for example, okay, I was able to read the mission of my company. I was able to read the hiring procedures of my company. What if we ask something else, like, for example, how can I cook spaghetti alla carbonara, which is my favorite dish? Well, now we are using an agent. As I said, an agent should be a specialized assistant to give me content in a specific context. But actually, if I do what I just showed you and nothing more than that, the engine of Copilot Studio and of my custom agent will be able to use also the whole knowledge base available on the web, and it will be still able to give me an answer, which is not actually what I'm looking for in this kind of agent, because this is an agent for HR. But you can simply turn off this option, allow the AI to use its own general knowledge, and by confirming that you want to do that, you will fully focus your agent on the actual content that you want to provide, on the actual knowledge base that you want to provide to your end users. It takes a while, and once it's done, you will have your agent fully focused on your knowledge base and nothing more than that. So even if you will provide a prompt which targets a different context, you will not get back any answer, but actually the agent will tell you something that you're looking for, something which is not part of its knowledge base. So Once you are done with the definition of your agent, you can publish it. And in order to publish an agent, let me publish it once right now, and it will take a little while to do the actual and initial publishing. We can switch to the channels and see how we can publish an agent so that we can use it from an end user perspective. In the channel section of the agent, we can choose multiple channels, which can be Microsoft Teams, can be a website, can be Slack, a mobile application, and many more. There are more than 10 different channels that we can use. By default, every agent that we create with Copilot Studio will rely on the native Microsoft Entra ID authentication, and it will be possible to publish those agents on the channel for Microsoft Teams only. If you want, we are not going to see that right now, but you can customize the authentication settings for your agent, and you can target additional channels. Now, I'm just going to target Microsoft Teams, which is my choice. And I'm going to choose this channel, and I'm going to turn the availability of this agent to Microsoft Teams. It takes again a while, and then if I go to availability options, I can copy a link and start playing with the agent that I just created. And the overall result will be exactly what I showed you before. But before having a look to this agent, I want to show you what you can do if you want to target Microsoft 365 Copilot directly. So you want to have this kind of experience. So let me go back here. If we go to the list of agents, we have a special agent, which is this Copilot for Microsoft 365. And in this one, we can create agents which will target the user experience of Microsoft 365 Copilot. Here I created my agentic HR, which is the one I showed you before. And for the sake of saving time, I'm going to show you this one, and I'm not going to create another one from scratch because I don't have enough time in this demo, and I apologize about that. So here I have my agentic HR agent that I created targeting Microsoft 365 Copilot. Again, I created this one still using the conversation-based model, so I simply described what I was looking for. I provided a knowledge base based on the same documents as before stored in SharePoint Online. And as before, you can simply click on Add Knowledge and you can add additional knowledge. But I also configured an action which is an action of type list rows present in a table through Excel Online Business. And I configured this action, if we dig into it, to target that specific document that I have in SharePoint Online. So I provided a name and a display name. And again, the display name and the description need to be clear enough to help the orchestrator of Copilot Studio and of the Copilot agent to understand what we are looking for. Then we have a set of inputs and outputs, because actually behind the scene of this action, there is a connector for Power Platform. And actually, I'm using this connector and this specific action, the list row present in a table, which wants to have the location, the library, the file, and the table that it needs to look for. So here in the inputs, I simply define the URL of the site, the document library. You can provide the name or the ID of the document library, the file that I'm looking for, and the table that I have in the Excel file that I want to use as the data source. So that when I will provide the input that I provided before, list the candidates of for the HR roles or anything else which will have the same intent and the same meaning, thanks to the generative AI, I will be able to make it so that Copilot Studio will understand what I'm looking for and will actually consume this external connector and give me back the answer I'm looking for. And I think this is really powerful. Then I also configured few starter prompts for my agent for Microsoft 365 Copilot, and then I published it. And in order to publish it, you simply need to click on the publish button, providing some information about the short name, long name, and developer name for your agent. And once you are done with that, and we can even do that, should be quick enough, we can then enable the agent in Microsoft 365 Copilot, and we are able to consume the agent. Of course, the very first time you will start using the agent and you will start interacting with an external system like the Excel file through the connector, you will also have to authenticate. So here you see that I can copy the URL and I can start working with my agent for Microsoft 365 Copilot. And actually, since this agent has been already published, I can update it instead of adding it to the target environment. I don't need to update it because I didn't change anything. But basically, as I was telling you, when you trigger an action which will start consuming an external connector, you also need to authenticate the very first time so that there will be a secure session between your session in the agent and the external connector consuming an external data source. And in fact, I have let's see if I can find it here. Exactly, I have a connection which is in place and which is already connected, and that I'm using to consume the external Excel file from the agent built with Copilot Studio. So plenty of options and the capability to create really powerful solutions. As a reminder, if you want to dig more into this kind of topics, we have a training content online, which is the Copilot Dev Camp, where you can find a lot of training paths to learn how to build this kind of stuff. And to help you figure out what you need to learn, we created a flow chart to help you find the right path, whether you are a maker or a developer, so you want to use a code-based or a no-code-based approach, and targeting multiple options based on what you want to get as the result of your custom agent development or making. So that said, back to you, Vesa. Thank you, and see you next time.
Excellent. Thank you, Paolo. On that one, quickly taking over. We are a bit over time, so I do apologize on that one. Thank you, Samir. Thank you, Paolo. Quickly summarizing the call of today. Next week, 18th of February, we do have 3 demos. We're trying to squeeze in 3 demos in 15 minutes per demo. Most likely, I will need to squeeze a bit on my stuff, which is SharePoint Framework 1.21, which is coming out in February. Still looking forward on that as well. In the meanwhile, take advantage of our Discord option. That's a great option to engaging with the community. We are always looking also for feedback around the topics and demos and whatever was covered within the call. So please fill in that form. But this call and the recording will be available within 24 hours at Microsoft Community Learning YouTube channel, the AKMS Community YouTube. Follow us on LinkedIn, Blue Sky, Twitter to stay up to date on when the assets are available. But that's it for now. Thank you everybody for joining. See you next week. Cheers. Bye-bye.